Here we are again with a new episode of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, specifically the DLC number 6. Now it gives us the Dragon Ball Z ending mini-arc and the meeting of Goku with Up, the reincarnation of Majin Buu. Curious decision, but as always our question is, will it be worth it as individual content to cost almost 15 extra bucks? Get comfortable because it's time for a new review of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, Goku's Next Journey. It doesn't last more than a couple of chapters of the original series. There are several new versions of the characters in this 10-year timeskip, but they barely have little participation. Also, we can only tell one important fight, that of Up in the martial arts tournament. How many situations can be presented to us in this extra chapter? Unlike the Bardock DLC, which is based on the movie, or the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai arc, which is practically an entire Dragon Ball saga. Well, it starts in a similar way to the previous DLC, with a flashback, but this time commemorating a confrontation from the original story against Kid Buu, that moment in which we fought him for the last time before launching the Spirit Bomb. There are some new sequences, but most is recycled material. I mean, nothing that we can see repeated in the cinematic we repeat in the mission in the Time Machine. After this, we go 10 years into the future. They send us on a pretty generic fishing mission and they introduce us to the main characters years later, such as Chi-Chi, Videl, Goten, Gohan, etc., in addition to the new member of the family, Pan, who join us for most of the journey, not to mention that we fight against her in a training battle. Nothing outstanding. At simple glance it may seem that the game is introducing improvised gameplay time so that it doesn't feel so short, and yeah, it's true. However, I would like to rescue the details that they have in the gameplay when facing a character as small as Pan, that despite having Saiyan blood, she is very fragile and Goku knows it. That's why in the gameplay against her, the moveset of this more experienced Goku changes to a more modest one, showing versions of his lighter abilities and not as powerful as we know he can do them. With these examples, it's very easy to notice it. He's training with Pan, he's not going with everything he's got, because he knows he can practically kill her. Also, the combat is on the ground to take advantage of that feature that was included in the last expansion, and also to highlight Pan's inexperience, and that is reflected into the gameplay. It seems to me a nice detail. They didn't miss the opportunity to make it feel genuine. Imagine Pan receiving a spirit bomb the size of a mountain. Although the same thing happens when we face teenage Goten, since the game shows him as a lazy man who is now much less interested in training, looking for any excuse to not training with Goku. It gives you a lot to think about how much Goten has changed. In the end, all these encounters with these older versions of the characters are treated with a lot of patience. They take their time to give context to what has happened with the characters in all these years, showing dialogues that reference moments from the original Dragon Ball as memories and the conversation we have with Master Roshi, for example, remembering how Jackie Chun beat him in the first tournament he participated in. How naive Goku still is. The thing is, you can spend the entire first hour of the DLC watching these dialogues, and well, that is part of the RPG approach that Kakarot has, which we often forget. These small contributions of lore and respect for the material that are presenting is something that Dragon Ball fans appreciate, but not as DLC. I mean, if they make us pay extra for content that takes 2.5 hours of the time with just characters talking to each other, I feel like it's not worth it. They don't put in so much interaction between characters just to fill DLC time. No, not at all. But seriously, jokes apart, the first impressions are not very promising. To make sure we're all on the same page, this special chapter resounds around Goku waiting for the reincarnation of Buu that he wished for at the end of the fight against Kid Buu. Now that he felt his presence, he signed up for the martial arts tournament because he knows he will find him there. And of course, the other Z warriors don't miss the opportunity to participate as well. Although, well, the issue with the character of Pan, care was taken in its execution with the training fights also because she would be another playable character. Of all the new characters that are added with each DLC, the last one that would have occurred to me was Pan from the last chapter of Z, but it's okay, I guess. Obviously, Pan easily wipes the floor with his rival, and they move forward, fixing everything in their favor thanks to the magic of Majin Buu. Moving on to the fight that is sold as the main one on this entire DLC, it's a matter of a fight divided into two parts in which Goku insults Oob to make him angry and unleash his full potential. It's pretty well represented, and ending by illustrating iconic fragments from this episode. Oob's skills don't vary much, but it also shows the immaturity he still has as a fighter. The best is, as usual, the final cinematic in which both are paired in an exchange of sonic blows, but I felt it very ephemeral. It lasts a few minutes and then Goku showing again how he's the worst possible father, leaving his family suddenly on a remote island who knows where, who knows for how long, to train Oob. They say goodbye and leave the whole tournament suspended. I knew that the material that had to be covered was short, but not that it would reach this level. But don't worry, things continue. It would have been a little worrying if there were only 4 fights in the entire expansion. So we just finished the main mode. An extra mode feature is added to the game called the rivalry of the two Saiyans. In this one, we can enter an area where Goku undergoes mental training. In this way, we face the 3 iconic villains of the Dragon Ball Z sagas, one by one in a kind of recap. But what awaits us at the end of this extra mini chapter is what's truly important. Goku and Vegeta face each other using everything they have without holding back. This duel is the one with the most work behind. Not only can we use Goku with all his transformations, but they let us hypothetically see how Vegeta has progressed a lot too, so much as to equal the Super Saiyan 3. There are quick time events, flashback of past fights, and great arsenal of techniques that Vegeta uses against us. The final cinematic shows what we always expect from a new Kakarot DLC, a cinematic with the most impressive technical and visual values that can be found in an anime game. The iconic beam collision of Kamehameha against Gali Gun is recreated, and I loved the detail of Vegeta changing to the final flash at the last instant to counterattack Goku's pressure. It was brutal, but honestly, it's not the best CyberConnect war I've seen, and I think it doesn't have to do directly with the execution of the animations or anything like that, because it's excellent. I think it's more related to the narrative intention behind this, which is, for me, non-existent. Of course, it can serve as a closing of the Z arc, an iconic fight between the 2 greatest rivals in the series, I understand, but wasn't this about Goku meeting Oob? Was this an excuse to be able to put this hypothetical fight between Goku and Vegeta at the end? The 2 characters that do sell? I don't know. What is certain is that I thought this was going to be the last DLC for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, or at least the last one we were going to see for a long time, and a year had to pass so we could get the first Daima DLC. So the task of representing the rivalry between Goku and Vegeta was fully achieved. But that of Goku going with Oob to train in what is the last chapter of Z to leave the legacy of the series and this game high at the same time, it falls very short, and I feel like something more is needed to buy this expansion. Every time a new DLC for this game comes out, I get quite excited, and I hope you enjoyed the review as much as I did. I love doing it. Remember to leave your opinions on this DLC if you have already tried it. They are quite important to me. Without further to say, that was all for today, guys, and I'll be watching you in the next video. Take care and see ya!